our region's business, improving our economy, creating jobs, and strengthening communities. Innovation, collaboration, transformation, and the people making it happen. Join us as we take a closer look at our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on our region's business, Penn State steps out into McKeesport and New Kensington to bring to bear its academic expertise to revitalize neighboring communities. Plus, the art and culture at the heart of the economic revitalization of East Liberty in the city of Pittsburgh's East End. But first, all it takes is $1 a month to make a big difference for families across our region. 2018 marks the 35th anniversary of the Dollar Energy Fund, a nonprofit that has since distributed more than $146 million in utility assistance to 530,000 households in our region. It's quite an impact from an organization that got its start during Pittsburgh's darkest days at the bottom of the steel bust that sent metro unemployment soaring to more than 18%. Chad Quinn is CEO of the Dollar Energy Fund, and welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having me on today.
Congratulations on the milestone. 35 years, a whole generation of doing the work. Not you personally, but
not
the
organization.
Not me personally,
no, not quite that far, but yeah, 35 years. We go back to the downturn in the 1983 when the steel mills were closing.
And tell me how it came about. I mean, I was a young reporter in those days covering the news here in Pittsburgh, but I remember those times in the early 80s, and you know, foreclosures, people leaving the region, just a host of issues. How did the Dollar Energy Fund come about?
So, well, our founder, Betty Ann Simon, was working at one of the TV stations doing a call to action and was receiving phone calls from people that needed assistance paying their utility bills. And there was nothing in place for that back 35 years ago. So she actually worked with some other stakeholders in the industry to get Dollar Energy Fund started 35 years ago.
And so Pittsburgh was really a pioneer in thinking about this approach to raise these kind of money?
Well, there were a couple organizations like Dollar Energy Fund in the United States. One was in Baltimore and one was in St. Louis. Okay. But beyond that, there were very little help was being given to people that couldn't pay their utility bills, you know, back 35 years ago.
Wow. And so then it's grown, and obviously, and people really seem to rally around it, right? You get a lot of utility customers who are prepared to do that check off?
We do, and you know, the interesting part about it is, you know, not as many people get a paper bill anymore or see those bills or open their mail like they used to. So we have a little, that mechanism of people checking the box on your utility bill has caused us to look for other ways to get people to contribute, only because people don't they don't get bills, or they pay their bills through their bank, and they don't have the opportunity to necessarily add that dollar and check that box on their bill.
Oh, interesting. So what's the new strategy? How do you get people to pay attention and still be willing to write the check or make the donation?
We're out in the community a lot doing more events, more event-driven things where people are able to participate. We do a radiothon every year. We do the Cool Down for Warmth every winter in Market Square, where we build a house out of ice and have folks come down and kind of do crowdsourcing. And we still want people to check the box on their bill. We want them to have the opportunity to do that and take advantage of that if they can. And the easiest way to do that now is to contact your utility company and ask to opt in to add $1 to your bill. Maybe not just checking that box if you don't write a check and put it in the mail anymore, but call your utility and ask. Okay,
so you actually can still do that, and they'll be willing to help you. How much money a year do you need to raise to do this, to meet the need?
Well, we've never really been able to meet the need of everybody in our region.
Wow.
You know, so there are folks every year that we turn away. We will run out of funds, so it's a first come first served basis basically. We will run out of funds, so we've never been able to meet the need necessarily. There's always demand beyond what we're able to help, but we've always tried to raise more and ask our utility partners to help match our, you know, the generosity of the people in the region and contribute more to the fund.
Well, and that's the other piece of it. The utilities are actually chipping in as well and kind of doubling the effort in a sense.
Correct. I always tell people I think we're the only charity that I know of that if you give $5, it becomes $10, and all $10 is used to help somebody. You know, the utilities pay an administrative fee separate from what their matching donation. So really, your $5 becomes $10 of assistance, and we spend $10 worth of assistance on paying someone's bill.
So you and your staff are actually paid out of that administrative fee that the utilities are paying. So when the average person gives some money to the fund, it is literally going to help somebody.
And it's literally doubled.
100 cents on the dollar. 200 cents on the dollar.
200 cents on the dollar. Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
So how much money a year are you raising nowadays?
So we've raised from customers somewhere about between $1 million and $1.5 million in assistance. So in Pennsylvania so far this year, we've contributed a little over $4 million to pay folks' utility bills. So there are utility contributions that match that, and other fundraising that we do to help match that, bridge that gap. But that's about what we've done.
That's impressive. Who gets the money? Who qualifies for support with this program?
So the people that get assistance with this, what we look at is we study statistics. We want to know who's getting help, and 84% of the people we're helping are currently working, recently unemployed, retired, or they're disabled and unable to work.
84%?
84%
fit that category. So
yes.
The amount of completely unemployed, totally out of the workforce, just on public assistance is that tiny percentage.
Tiny percentage, and actually public assistance is only about 4% of the folks that we're helping.
Wow.
People claiming that as their primary source of income. So we're helping what we say is the working poor. They're the folks who may have had a higher paying job before the downturn happened. Maybe their industry picked up and left town. Maybe their industry phased out for some new technology that's come through, and they're not making the same amount of money they did years ago. So they're working a lower paying job, but trying to make ends meet. And then something happens where they need a little extra help. Maybe the car breaks down, something happens, somebody's sick, they miss work for a while, and they need somebody to help bridge that gap. And that's what the dollar insurance
And that's
for.
where you step in. And I mean, probably an indication, we hear so much that wages and payroll and salaries have just not increased as fast as costs for many, many, many workers. So more people get closer to that edge. So if somebody wants to help, it sounds like a great way to be able to make a big difference. How do they find you? How do they do that?
So, they can go online to dollarenergyfund.org, and there's multiple ways to make contributions there. If they're still paying their utility bill via check, we certainly want them to check that box, or to call their utility company and ask to virtually check the box. Those are ways they can support us.
All right.
They can also support any of our events throughout the year. We'd love to have people, come down to support our Cool Down for Warmth in the middle of Market Square and at the end of January.
Okay.
And we've got our radiothon that takes place every year in February.
All right. The Dollar Energy Fund. Chad Quinn, congratulations on the work thus far.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Next up, Penn State, leaving the ivory tower to engage directly in revitalizing communities surrounding its Commonwealth campuses. We'll find out why they're doing it and what a difference it can make when our business continues. Please stay with us.